Remember last time I said, hey, send me Deadlock if you have an invite code for Deadlock. And a viewer, I don't know if they want me to mention them. It was Gus, who you might remember from helping me translate a bunch of stuff for my Brazilian Mega Man video. Came through, sent me an invite code, so thank you very much for that. And I got to play Deadlock. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick, actually. I'm back from the bathroom in a flash. So when I asked for a Deadlock invite, I was not really familiar with what Deadlock actually was. In my mind, it was still like a hero shooter. I was picturing something like an Overwatch or a TF2, something either class-based or character-based, something like that. And I was very wrong. Deadlock is not a hero shooter, although it does share obvious similarities. Deadlock is a third-person shooter MOBA. Specifically Dota, which makes sense. It's the Valve MOBA. But there are like mechanics and ideas lifted right from Dota that you won't find in League or Smite or any of the other ones, right? Like there's lanes, there's an item shop, there is last hitting, there's denial. There are multiple different item shops like scattered around the map, like nearby your lane that you can go to, which is actually kind of nice. So I will be bluntly honest with my initial impressions of the game. I remembered that, I remember, it came back to me. I really don't like MOBAs. I think I actually kind of despise them as a genre, and Deadlock does not do anything to fix the deep-rooted issues that I have with them. Part of this comes from, like, PTSD from playing League of Legends for years and years on end. Part of it comes from, like, a genuine... genuine issues that I have with a lot of MOBA conventions that make them like severely toxic experiences to me. And Deadlock does not do anything to rectify those problems. So what am I talking about? Because I have seen people say, if you didn't like MOBAs, give Deadlock a try. I didn't like Dota, or I didn't like MOBAs, and then I tried Deadlock, and I love it. Those people probably had different issues with other games like League or Dota or Smite or Heroes of the Storm or whatever. My problem, because I have actually played all of those. I have way too much time in League of Legends. I tried out Dota 2. I don't remember how much time I put into it. Maybe like 50 hours. I'm not sure. I played Smite for like 200 or 300 hours. I don't even know how that happened. I genuinely don't know how that happened. I have no memories of playing Smite. No positive memories. It's all just like a complete blur that like meant nothing to me. Kind of scary, actually. And I did touch Heroes of the Storm a little bit back when it was like, I don't know, in like the first year or two of its release. And I don't remember. I'm not really going to speak on Heroes of the Storm because I know it does things differently. So when I talk about MOBAs, just kind of discount that. I don't have a ton of experience in it, and I know that it does a lot of, probably honestly fixes a lot of things that I don't like. And I just never played it because it's a Blizzard game. So my primary issues with MOBAs are match length and the way that characters scale and like character growth. For one, the games are way too fucking long, and the way that the typical systems of resource, like the resource economy, and the way that it translates like via the item shop into like direct power, leads to a lot of snowballing of like individual players on a team where they massively outpace other characters, and kind of like creates the numbers game in MOBAs is so important in terms of like how much gold you have, for instance. I'll just use gold as the catch-all because that's what most of them use. In Deadlock, it's souls and goals. But Deadlock basically does the same thing. It basically creates this situation where someone on your team dies like 3 times in the first couple minutes, and you're like, or you die a couple times in the first couple minutes, and this sinking feeling is created in my chest, and I'm like, and I all I'm thinking is, oh God, I'm gonna be here for another 25 minutes at least, and we're just gonna be slowly losing the game the whole time. And that happens way too frequently. That happens like way too frequently, with not a lot of, I don't know, dynamism to the way the matches play out. Most MOBAs I find are very, the game is typically decided in the first 10 minutes and then drags on for another 20. And most of the time, the things that I find interesting and fun about MOBAs are only like a fraction of the experience. So when I played League, I mained top lane, which, for those unfamiliar, top lane is basically considered the 1v1 lane for various reasons. It's the most isolated lane. It's typically the one where you just take like a solid kind of bruiser character, and then you go up and you just 1v1, and it's just the two of you, not guaranteed to have a lot of interaction with your other team. And to be honest, the interplay of like managing minion waves while also like trading with the opponent and trying to and managing like when you have big power spikes based on when you get certain abilities after level ups and stuff is very interesting. And it was always my favorite part of the game. And then I discovered that that's actually, what if you had a game that was just that? And then I started playing fighting games, and I never looked back. Because fighting games were just, oh, here's all the stuff that I find most interesting about League of Legends and most fun, but isolated and rapid fire. And, you know, when fucking Nagaryuki does Beyblade at round start, I am not then forced to endure a 20-minute block string as my health slowly gets chipped away. I just lose in like a minute or something like that. And I can just move on to the next one, next player. We'll see, you know, how does this one go? And it's like a fresh experience every time. Like, I think MOBAs, this is going to be very critical. I'm sorry if you love MOBAs, but I think you're crazy. MOBAs to me are a genre that trick you into thinking that you're not having a bad time, because there is so much going on in them. They are so complex. The knowledge barrier is absolutely huge and seemingly insurmountable at the start of just how many goddamn things there are, how many characters, how many abilities they have, all of the items and item builds, and the items shop's always getting changed around, and the balance patches. And it is like you spend, and then you get into like all the mechanics and everything, and there's so much to wrap your head around, and you only learn like maybe one thing every game, and games are like 40 minutes long or 30 minutes long. And so you spend hundreds of hours playing League of Legends. Now it's getting personal. Playing League of Legends until you like actually have your head kind of wrapped around the game. And then you realize, and then you have to play that for even longer. And then eventually at some point I just realized, wait, most of the time I spend in this game is not like having fun. Like, it's not interesting or fun. It's like a whole genre that obscures its own nature. uh I genuinely, like, I don't, yeah, I don't know if I could ever get into that unless there was some, like, I hate the item shops in these games is conceptually cool to me, but the way that it ends up working with, like, I hate the fact that, like, you get gold when you kill people. I wish there was some kind of solution to the fucking economy problem. Because I feel like the biggest issue in these games for me is the way that, like, gold acquisition affects the outcome of the game, like, so directly. Like, I hate the fact that kills give you gold. Which probably sounds crazy, but it's like, I feel like the effects of that are so negative on the overall, like, like how that affects the game, like how snowbally it is. And trust me, I exploited the shit out of that. I played Renekton in League of Legends. That whole fucking character is based around hitting level 3 or 4, and then going all in on someone and then killing them in the first 5 minutes of the game and just fucking holding their head underwater for the rest of the laning phase and just fucking ruining their day. Like, there are entire characters in League of Legends whose playstyle revolves around, like, if they are successful, they just ruin someone's day for 40 minutes. I fucking get a kill at the 5-minute mark. I go back, I buy 2 long swords. There is no way that they can fucking fight me. They can even hope to fight me. I outmatch them statistically so hard with my Dorans and my 2 long swords and like 3 health pots or something. They can't even step to me. And then if they even try, I do like a big I dash through my minions, and then I do a big combo. I take out half their health, and then they have to just hang back, and then I fucking build a freeze. I freeze my lane, and I just keep it by my tower, and now they're just they can't go in for minions, or they're going to be vulnerable to ganks or me all-inning them because they're on my strong side. And it's so completely unfair. It's such a shitty situation to put someone in. It's the whole character. I loved it. I loved it so much. Just like a fucking asshole character. And that's like how those games are designed. Renekton is allowed to operate like that because that's how the game works. Renekton shaped the meta of League of Legends. It was called the fucking Renekton check. It was like, can your character beat Renekton in lane? If not, because he was so dominant. He was just so aggressive and so strong, and he only really falls off towards the late game because of just like building tank stats because of like a bruiser or whatever. And it was all enabled by the systems of the game, of how you gain gold and how damage works and how the items translate directly into power. And so many of these conventions are just built so deeply into the MOBA genre that I don't think people even really think about it. I remember when Tears of the Kingdom? I remember when Heroes of the Storm came out and everyone made fun of it because it didn't have an item shop. And now I'm like, were they right? Were they right the whole time? Should MOBAs just have like a skill tree thing where you get levels and just like level up skills and stuff, and most people just kind of progress at the same rate or something? You know why I think about like fucking Dissidia and how Dissidia does equipment builds, and I'm like, oh yeah, but it works in that game where you can have all these different wildly different builds that focus on different stats or different mechanics and stuff. But it works because like all of that happens just in the prep for the match as part of like the loadout system, and then you go into the match, and also it's not like a mystery what the opponent is running because you can literally see it during the loading screen. It like shows you it, like their whole build. And then the actual gameplay is just straight fighting. It's just straight to the fighting, all the great combat system. And Deadlock does not do anything to rectify the main problems that I have with the MOBA genre. And I could sit and talk about things like, I don't know, all the fucking movement mechanics that it has. Like, there's a dash and there's an air dash, and it's like you can do like a dash roll into a jump, and you get like a big hop, and then there's like a double jump, and you can mantle on top of things and climb on stuff, and the map has all this verticality, and yeah, all that stuff is kind of neat, like the lanes have a bridge going over them that you can hop on top of and like shoot, and the shooter aspect does change it a bit, and it has denial, and I don't mind the game's like denial system where the way that denials worked in Dota is where so you only get gold for getting the last hit on someone if you land the killing blow, and minions are the most consistent stream of gold. They're kind of like the foundation of your income is getting minion kills. So last hitting creeps, as they're sometimes called, is a key part of keeping up with the opponent in terms of your gold income, which is, of course, important because it buys you items that translates directly into power. I kind of went over this earlier. And in Dota, they had a legacy mechanic from the original Dota mod, where in Dota 2, you can actually target your own. You have to manually target them. You have to target your own creeps, and you can essentially, it's called denial, because you basically take the last hit instead, and I don't think you gain any gold, but you keep the opponent from getting the gold from the last hit. That's it. And I personally, I always felt like that was kind of like that felt sort of janky, like it was kind of a technicality of the way that Dota, the original one, like Dota All-Stars worked as a Warcraft 3 mod, and they just kept it. Deadlock makes it feel more like a mechanic that was intended to be there, in that when a minion dies, a little soul flies up. So the currency is souls in the game. So if you get the last hit on a minion, you get like half the souls, and then or you get a certain amount of souls, and then a little like orb will float up out of them, and either it'll get to like the top of it. If it gets to like the top of its float, like it goes up a certain distance, it'll automatically pop, and you'll get a bonus amount of souls, which I don't actually know if it's like twice the amount or something like that, but it's like a bonus, right? And it's a pretty good bonus, at least from what I played, like per minion. You can also manually shoot the little orb yourself to cash it out early, to get it early, to ensure that you get it, because the opponent can shoot it and they'll get the bonus gold. Ooh, so it's like, it's kind of interesting and all that. There's a bunch of shit around the map, like breakable objects that will give you like permanent buffs, like max, like plus 15 max health that you just have now. There's like neutral camps that you can, of like monsters that you can go fight in between the lanes and all that, like typical MOBA stuff. There's like a boss that spawns in the middle. There's little like secret passageways and stuff like that. There's ropes that you can climb up on top of to get on like the rooftops of the buildings. It's all that. I do like the zip lines. The way that this game handles people going to lane is a little odd, a little different. Instead of, so the way that MOBAs usually work is that someone, well, traditionally you would call what role you wanted in the lobby, and then they kind of switched over to having dedicated, like you would queue up or be sorted into a specific role as metas became more defined. So you are like the dedicated, the game says that you are the top laner, right? And then you would go to the appropriate lane when you load it into game. Deadlock automatically assigns everyone in the game to different lanes, which is sort of interesting. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I don't really know if the characters are like, sometimes you just get a bad matchup or something. I have no clue. But there's like this zipline thing, which is kind of nice. It is essentially wherever I think it's basically defined as like, it seemed like wherever the two like enemy waves of minions, like your teams and the opponent's teams, minion waves would meet, is where your rail would extend to, and then from your base you can just automatically hop onto it and then just zipline over to the end of the line, and you can hop off at any time. And it's actually nice because one of the most tedious things about MOBAs is walking back to lane. So there are things that definitely cut down, add on to that by your tower, your outer tower, where you're going to be kind of the initial laning phase is going to be seeing the most action. There's an item shop right there, so it kind of cuts out. There are little things here that cut out the going back to base and then having to walk back and having to make that sort of decision, which is kind of nice, just to speed things up. And does feel very convenient to just be able to go buy things without having to completely go back to base and risk losing out on creeps and all that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is a MOBA, and it plays like a MOBA. If you are like me and you just have a general distaste for many of the tropes and kind of way that these games are designed, Deadlock is not going to win you over. You might... It could be that it was just the perspective or the sort of RTS style didn't appeal to you, in which case the third-person shooter stuff might. I've heard some people say that. Different strokes for different folks. I do feel a little crazy because I think I played... Okay, so here's how my session with Deadlock ended. I played 2 sessions. The first one was doing the tutorial, getting to grips with things, trying out a couple characters online. Then my takeaway from that first session was it's a MOBA. It's got things I don't like. It's got things I kind of like. I'll see. I'll play a little bit more of it. I want to play a little more of it. My second session, I think I lost 3 times in a row. And the first game, I had that feeling come back where I was like, I feel like I'm trapped in this game. I'm not playing the game. I'm a captive to the game. And the second game went very similarly. Even when I played characters that were decently fun, I guess. And then the third game, I died like twice, and I was like, in the first few minutes, and then I went to lane, and there was someone who was really low health, and I tried to kill them, and I tried to be aggressive, because I was like, I don't know, I want to like do some shit in this game and not just have to play like all passive and stuff. And then I like somehow died instantaneously. I was like, wow, I fucking just evaporated. And I said, fuck it. And then I left the game. I quit out and abandoned my team. And then I closed it and I uninstalled the game. And I said, nah, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to go play something I want more. You might be like, Taigen, that's not cool. You ruined the experience for your team. I think they ruined their experience by booting the game up in the first place. I think they ruined their 30 minutes. I am the crab that escapes the bucket. You will not drag me down in some sort of group solidarity appeal. I am going to escape. I'm going to be free. I will not play MOBAs. I think the title of this podcast is going to be something like MOBAs were created by the devil to soothe Hitler or something. Yeah, so Deadlock, I can't give it a recommendation if you're like me, but hey, maybe it'll work for you. I wouldn't recommend the MOBA genre in general. I kind of hate them. Deadlock does not fix the issues that I have with them in general.